Hello, it's Margitt, and today I'm going to be talking about holding space, especially for older children. This is something that I learned when my children were tweens and teenagers. I think I did it naturally when they were really little. And then as they get older, you kind of get a little bit busy. And then I had learned this within a woman's circle, and I really brought it to my family, and it really changed the dynamics and the way we were able to communicate on such a higher deeper level. And so I really wanted to share this with you because we still practice it with the children, and it really is really magical. And my kids actually will even thank me now that they're older and say, thank you for holding that space for me. So they understand the dialogue. So as mothers, we know how to do this very easily. We are containers. We hold children, we hold parties, we hold loved ones, ill ones. We easily are containers. But how do we do it in a practice that is healthy? And we've gotten kind of away from that in our modern culture. We are in a culture where there's a lot of chit chat and a lot of talk, but there's not a lot of listening. And holding space has to do with a lot of listening. Listening not only with our ears, but just holding it and being present while the other one is talking. And it is a practice, and we do this a lot in our women's circles. So we practice that where, one has the floor and the rest of us are really holding that space and visualizing her and witnessing her as she's going through these emotions. And so that's what I'm able to do with my children, is just hold it, witness it, and most of the time that they're able just to kind of figure it out on their own. And so they already know how to do that. So with women, they kind of have to relearn how to trust that process, where children are already in a trusting process. They haven't been that much damaged where they're closed down on trusting. So if you can hold that space and they're trusting their emotions and they're able to speak to you about them, they're able to work it out and really learn from that challenge or that situation. So let's say your child is really having a problem with a certain group of people, and they're just not, it's just not going well. So every time, they'll be coming home and they'll be talking about it. And a lot of times when the kids were younger, I really wanted to control that. And I wanted them to see that it was this person, or, can't you see it this way? Or tell them a story of when I was a kid or whatever. And that never worked. So when you're holding that space, they're able to see that on themselves. And if it becomes a pattern over and over again, I can have this communication with the kids where it's like, this looks like it's a pattern. Can you see that it's a pattern where, you're putting yourself in this kind of situation over and over again? And they can say, yeah, great, Mom, thanks. Or they can just say, screw off. I don't need that advice from you. And eventually they'll work it out on their own. But the moment that we start giving them advice and judging them and blaming them and criticizing them is when they're going to start turning you off. And why I think this is so important, because children today do not have safe containers. We don't know what that is. When you bring women in a circle, they feel very exposed because we're not used to sharing our emotions in a very safe space. So if we can continue this practice in our home, the children have a place that is safe. They have a place that they know that they're going to be loved no matter what are the conditions. And I always make sure that my children have one or two adults in their life that are mature, and unbiased, that instead of going to me to hold space, that they can go to these adults and they will be able to hold that for them. And even though they might not have went to them, but just knowing the safety and the love behind it, that there is always someone available to hear them out and to let them, express their emotions, is just so valuable to me. And really, really important, especially when our young ones start going outside of the home in their teen and young adult years. They start having different experiences outside of the home. They're going to experience different relationships. They're going to start exploring their sexuality. They're going to start exploring different environments outside of the home. And this is all very normal. This is all very normal part of development for young adults. And so sometimes they maybe have made the wrong choice, or maybe they wanted things to be different, and it's such an opportunity for them to grow and to learn from that mistake. And by giving them a safe space, they're able to really work it out. So if it's not you, then maybe it is a therapist or an adult that knows how to hold that space for that young adult. And I think we wouldn't have so many problems with epidemics and suicide and depression and anxiety if the children had a safe space for them to really feel and to really understand. Our world is so stressful right now. It's very chaotic. And a lot of these young children are very, very sensitive. So they're being bombarded with all of this garbage, and they have to sort it through. So I think by giving them a safe space and practicing that, it can really help the child and the family a long way. I know that for me, the communication and the intimacy has been really amazing with my children, and I feel like, you know, they can go to other people, but for what they share, I'm just so grateful that that I'm a part of that life. So it's very, very beautiful. And I feel very blessed, and it's very, very different from what I experienced as a young adult. I felt very alone, and I felt very unsafe, and I would create stories that were like this big into mountains in my head, and I lived with those stories for years. And really, they weren't a big deal at all. And I'm sure a lot of the Gen Xers out there that are parents really understand that there really wasn't a lot of opportunities to have something safe and something that was held that we can work through our problems. So yeah, there are times where I may be holding space, and I will say at the end, like, you know, I'm seeing a pattern here. Can I have your permission to tell you what I'm seeing? And most of the time they will, or sometimes when you're holding that space and that tree's kind of going this way or it's going to fall over, you are giving them the advice. But it really is, it takes a lot of intuition to see, should I do this now or should I hold back? And I think as we become parents of older children, a lot of times we're biting our tongue and letting them sort it out. But if we are seeing them going to fall over, of course, we are going to bring them back and with some guidance. Also, another thing is they don't want to hear the advice or the guidance. So maybe ask permission. You know, can I have your permission to give you some advice? Or maybe, how are you feeling about this? How does this help? How is this going along with, you know, some of your goals and where you want to be in your life? And just kind of like bringing it back to them instead of like bringing your own shit to the table. And that's what really holding space is all about. So yeah, that tough love's going to come in there. The hard questions are going to come in there, but for most part, they're going to be doing their work, and then they have the opportunity to grow from those experiences. And this is the beauty of being in that young age, is that there is so much learning about themselves, and this is just another opportunity to deepen that. And so I know for sure as they become more and more older that there will be more and more adults that they'll be going to be holding that space for them. But I know from the tween years and the high school years that holding that space for them was really, really important. And it was very beautiful to see them working through those things out. And I know from experience when I wasn't holding space for my older one, that those things those relationships or the dramas or whatever was going on in school at the time, by me giving advice and by me trying to control it, it extended longer and it got harder and it got uglier. And the minute I changed to just holding that space for them, the easier it was for them, and the shorter the drama, the shorter the challenge. They were able to learn about those situations and those kind of people that they wanted to be with or not be with a lot quicker. So it's very magical to hold space, holding space for friends, for family, for our loved ones. It's just a beautiful practice where you're just holding, you're being the container, you're allowing that emotional state to go freely without giving them any of your wounds, your triggers, your advice, stories, just giving them that beautiful container to allow them to do their work and allow them to move through that challenge or that worry or that fear and get them to the other side a lot quicker and a lot healthier. So that's all I have for you today on holding space. This was really fun to share with you, and I hope you're all doing well, and I'll see you next time. Take care.